Welcome back to Pokemon Y, where we are still in this same fucking town that we've been in for God knows how many parts now. But, you know, we have a new creature I've traded in here. This is Yveltal, the best of the Gen 3 starters. And I'm not taking that back, I fucking love Yveltal. And maybe we'll see him again if we do Omega Ruby as well. But you know, I wanted to get Yveltal in here, because we haven't seen him in a playthrough since way back in Pokemon Ruby.
Is he shiny?
No. It's just the art style of this game. It makes all the Pokemon look a little bit lighter.
Yeah, I think shiny Yveltal's like a blue colour.
I seem to remember it being a bit gold. Oh yeah, it is the cyan blue, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it looks better in its standard form.
Yeah.
Like, granted, that's more fitting because it's a grass type, and you know you got your leaf aesthetic and whatnot. But what we're going to be doing here, before we go on to the main draw of this part, which will be the Lost Hotel, we're going to be talking to some of these like rollerbladers around Lumio City, and they will teach us tricks. And I'm not doing this for no reason. There will actually be a benefit for this, but we'll see that when we get to the Lost Hotel itself. For now, we're just doing busy work, and I will be trimming this down the best I can so we're not here forever. But you know, we've got to talk to everyone. Like, talk to all the different rollerbladers and they teach us tricks. I'm not really going to use these tricks much because they're kind of fiddly to pull off. Basically what you're doing, when you're rollerblading around, you do like certain directional flicks on the little 3DS analog nub thing. Yeah. Like, it's not the most convenient thing. You know my Emolgal Shock Your Dedenne, I caught that line of dialogue. That's some like plain innuendo if you ever saw it. But yeah, basically I did look at a guide to find where all these people were. I think everyone does, because otherwise it's just a scoot around Lumio City. Can I just reiterate how I don't like Lumio City's layout? Because it's so fucking fiddly to get around, isn't it?
It is.
And the camera doesn't help either, because the camera is like, yeah, sometimes you can see the whole street, sometimes you can see just behind you, sometimes you can see like just in front of you. It's kind of annoying. And this is where you do a 360 and walk away. Was that the last one? I honestly can't remember how many there are. I think the fact that I'm heading off here is proof that it's the last one. And we're going back to where we were. That was a fun little detour right there. But yes, this is playing off the roller skating gimmick that this game has. I know we talked about this briefly, but it's kind of... It's a more convenient bike, really, isn't it? Like, you still have the bike here, but given you can just use the analog pad to go around, I don't really use it that much in playthrough, because for the sake of recording I get a bit perfectionist and I don't like crashing into things, and that caused me a few resets when I would walk out of a Pokemon Center at the start of a take, and then I would like just bump into something and it'd make that irritating bump sound, and I would have to like just then go back into the Pokemon Center, start me recording again, because otherwise it'd nag at me. And also shout out to my Pokemon Crystal playthrough on FC Playthroughs, where it's a full 11.5 hour run, I think. And I got almost all of it down without bumping into a single wall or NPC, except for the fucking ice cave where you have to, and that bugged me so much. Like, I don't think you realise quite the level of like obsessive compulsive behaviour I operate with this kind of thing. But that really did like fuck with me big time. And I have to joke about it because otherwise I would go insane.
Yeah, so you have to. Is it hard to control with the roller skates in this game?
They're not overly hard to control. It's just, you know, that it's not quite as clean as just walking around. Like there, I very nearly just crashed into it, and that was one of the backflips as you saw me do there. But I'm not doing too many then because they're kind of fiddly to pull off. At least to me, like other people probably don't have the same basic motor skills issues that I have. But oh, it's a fucking Watchog. What do we think of Watchog, Stephen? I agree.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, there's so much to say about it. It's a bit like Bugs Bunny or something.
It's
in a high-vis vest.
Yeah.
That does look like a fucking high-speed fence.
I'm pretty sure that is the aesthetic they were going for.
Or I suppose it is the watch-out Pokemon in it, so yeah, it's gonna have its security gear. It's the eyes that screw me a bit. Because, you know, like, it's got like layers to it, hasn't it? Like, it's got the eye, like this like red stripe through its eye, which I don't really get how that works. But yeah, that was like the main Pokemon that, was it Lenora had from Gen 5, the normal type gym leader?
I can't remember her name, but I think it was.
She's the one who, like, the animation staff got really fucked over with animating her, because her original design looked like a bit of a slave stereotype, and they had
there
to...
were sort of racist connotations.
Yeah, it was like, because they had her wearing like the worker outfit, the apron and that, and because they didn't actually get the memo, like what was probably a panic phone call from the like English speaking branch saying, "Oh my god, you can't do this," and they didn't get that till later. By which time the episode that she was in had already been animated. And think how much work that's got to be to like go and reanimate that kind of design, because this isn't just like a basic recolor or something. They had to like completely redraw a shirt in every scene that she's in. That must be like a lot of reworking to do. That's kind of why I feel a little bit awkward about the Sonic film being redesigned as well, because like, it's CG, which isn't quite as big of a reworking job, but like when you think of how much detail goes into a character model these days, the fact that that's being redone
and the fact that he doesn't even look like he's really there in all of those scenes in the trailers.
No, he's clearly just like chopped in post, isn't he? Like obviously they're not going to be able to use a standing prop for him given the kind of character he is, but you know, it does show it's a little bit awkward.
It's like going back to Detective Pikachu. Pikachu actually does feel like he's there in the scene.
It's part of the world, isn't he? Like, you know, it's all the trailers I've seen that it just looks completely fluid.
Yeah, it's like there's some points where it's like, okay, but the majority of the time it's like, I'm buying it. It's
but it's there. This is the world that's inhabited by these creatures.
That feels tangible.
Mm. You can go grab his tail and it will feel it. That's basically how you just described this. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like you've got to convincingly portray the character so that people can suspend their disbelief when watching it. And there's a difference between like a little bit, you know, it's cartoony, it's a bit out there. Maybe you got the whole Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of thing where it's like obviously imposed in, but you know, like, I'll buy it in this world that they've developed. I can kind of buy that, okay, there's this human interacting with this cartoon character and that works. And then there's other cases where, like, the character just doesn't really blend in too well. And that's kind of the difference between Detective Pikachu and Sonic in that respect.
Yeah. I feel because of the amount of Pokemon in that film, it feels like more like the humans are the out of place ones. It feels like it's the Pokemon's world, and
I can see like, that, but
they feel normal, like in the world.
It's like I can see what you're on about.
You know what I mean?
It's like I still accept the whole world as it was. Like it's like because the entire film really is. It's not bringing Pokemon into our world, it's injecting us into the Pokemon world. It's like when you see the film, it feels like it's a thing that existed before we got there. Yeah. It's like it existed without our interaction and that's what I love most about that film.
Well, it kind of fits in with the Pokemon lore, because aren't Pokemon supposed to have like originated before humans?
I think so.
I can't remember the exact example I'm thinking of, but I seem to recall there being a bit of lore about that in one of the games. Might have been Gen 4.
I can't remember a lot. So.
Because Gen 4 was the one where they had like the library with all the other information. I think there was a few bits like that in 7 as well, like in the libraries and whatnot, but I can't remember the specifics if I'm being honest.
But it's like, number one best thing about the film is the fact that it is 100% the Pokemon world, whereas Sonic is out of place because he's
copied and pasted into our
he's
world.
put into our world. I don't want to see Sonic in our world. I want to see him in his world.
In his world.
No, shut up.
Come on, you walked right into that
You
one.
scumbag. Then again, considering how he looks, I don't even want to see that world. I don't want to touch it with a 50-foot pole.
Okay, but what's more concerning, like Sonic being out of place in the human world there, or how it's going to look in the stinger that is definitely going to happen, where you have a shadowy figure who refers to Sonic as a faker slightly off screen. I am calling it now. There is going to be a
sequel bait.
Yeah, there is going to be a post-credit stinger, and it will almost definitely have Shadow in it. Like, that's just too easy for them not to do with this kind of film. It is going to happen. Like, there will never be a sequel because this is going to flop. And like, Sonic goes fast. Sonic goes very fast into a budget DVD release. That's where Sonic goes. Sonic will be in charity shops near you very soon.
That's another thing I also like about Detective Pikachu, the fact that it doesn't sequel bait. It's just one story.
Self-contained, yeah.
It's very self-contained. It's done and dusted, but it's like, if they're going to make a sequel, it's not impossible.
Yeah, like there's more stuff, like just with the concept of Pokemon alone, there's so many things you can do with the Pokemon world.
It's like, as far as I'm aware, I think I remember on the Pokemon website saying that there were 60 Pokemon in total in the film.
That's not bad given the level of animation you would need.
That's not bad at all.
It felt like there was loads though.
Yeah, it did. There was a lot of copy and paste though, I feel, at times. I remember seeing a lot more Sneasel than I expected there to be.
Yeah, Sneasel's not the kind of Pokemon that's just going to be around wherever.
Yeah.
But like, you know, that's kind of the purpose of having your 3D models that you can reuse for when it's appropriate, because like that is just an inevitability. You can only hand create so many 3D models.
Yeah.
And like that's why in the games, like Sword and Shield are still using the X and Y models all these years later, because like you can't realistically expect them to recreate the model for every single Pokemon at this point, can you?
There is one Pokemon in it that I'm really glad did show up. I won't say here, but it's wonderfully executed and it's wonderfully terrifying.
No, okay. Cool.
It's like, I'll say afterwards if you want to know, but
we'll wait and say I'll end up watching the film.
Fair enough.
But yeah, like
you'll know what it is.
Yeah. Like, in terms of the model quality though, I feel like this is intentionally future-proofed back when these models were made from this game, because the models here are incredibly high quality, like ridiculously high resolution for a 3DS game. And you can kind of see on the screen there that they've been reduced down in size, and there's like a subtle black outline around them, which is kind of the way of making it fit in the 3DS world. But like the models themselves, there's a reason they can just pull them into a HD game, no trouble. Like, there's a reason why they're just reusing these in Sword and Shield, because they made them so ridiculously highly detailed in the first place that they knew they'd be using these for years to come, which makes sense because, again, cost effectiveness, time effectiveness. You don't want to be recreating so many fucking models. They have got a slight filter over them in Sword and Shield, like that's a very subtle cutout thing, which looks really nice, I will say. And maybe I'm inherently comparing that to the look of Let's Go, given they're both Switch games. And Sword and Shield's visual style looks absolutely gorgeous.
It's like, I like how it looks, but I think I'd set my hopes a bit higher considering it's a Switch title.
I was kind of expecting it to be like because the way it looks, it is basically the 3DS approach being HD, isn't it?
It really is, and that kind of disappointed me.
See, I kind of like it. I know why people are disappointed by that, because it's not really pushing the limits in any respect. But at the same time, I do like it. I like the look of the 3DS games, and I like them running natively at high resolution.
I just want to know why you use Slash against a ghost type.
Because I'm a fucking idiot, what do you think?
It's like, I just called out of the corner of my eye, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I think I forgot that Drifloon was Ghost rather than like Poison or something, because I remember it's a flying type. Yeah, that's what I said, but I can't talk. Are we gonna really keep busting me over fucking like 40 minutes of this.
Yes.
Oh, you're making a long part even longer. But yeah, I like the look that Sword and Shield are going for. Like, it's not really pushing limits, but then Game Freak are infamously bad at optimizing things.
It's like, I am praying that there is no lag in that game.
It's gonna run at 30. You know it's gonna run at 30. Like,
yeah, but I am hoping that during battles there isn't sudden slowdown.
there is going to be sudden slowdown. This is Game Freak we're talking about. Game Freak are like the least efficient developers out there, and I'm not exaggerating there because people have looked into dug into the data of Sun and Moon, and the amount of redundancy in there. Like, you might think I've talked about the way that models are designed to be reused and that, but they reload in a different copy of the NPC models in different situations. Like there's so many different Lily models. They pull in a different one depending on what cutscene it is. Like the Lily you talk to in the opening cutscenes and whatnot is a different one to the one you see later on, and you know, like, there's so much repetition there, and it's basically, someone compared it to like if you're reading a page of a book, then you close the book, then you reopen the book and turn back to the next page each time. That's kind of the Game Freak approach to developing a game. There's no kind of optimization at all. It just does everything the long way from a technical perspective. And they've been making games for how many fucking years now? This feels very much like an amateur kind of mistake that someone would make, you know, of going through the long way. And that's why they have so much slowdown, because it's redrawing everything at every fucking opportunity it gets.
Shocking, considering this is one of the biggest gaming IPs in the world.
This is if you think how many fucking billions Pokemon has brought in, and they haven't brought in one guy who can say, oh, we can do this. You know, you can make it a lot easier if you do it like this.
It's it doesn't feel like Pokemon is treated as great as it should be. It feels like it's not treated to the quality or standard that Mario and Zelda are. And yet it should be.
See, the thing is that Pokemon isn't handled by one of Nintendo's in-house teams like they are, because it's outsourced to Game Freak, who technically aren't a subsidiary of Nintendo. It kind of doesn't have Nintendo looking over them the whole time, because remember, Game Freak, they're not owned by Nintendo in any way. They produce games for other systems as well alongside it. It's just because Nintendo own the Pokemon IP, that's why they end up being Nintendo exclusives. So it's kind of it's outsourced, and Game Freak aren't really under the same strict supervision that the Mario teams are or the Zelda teams are. And that's kind of a bit of a curse to them, because there's there's no one over their shoulders to say do it like this. There's no one to say this is laggy, this is piss frame rate, do something about it. It's very much a case of Nintendo just leave Game Freak to their own devices, and sometimes it works out fine, sometimes it don't. But the fact that Let's Go has any slowdown at all, given how basic the art style is, that is a testament to that, isn't it? Because I will say, it's not awful, it's not as bad as the 3DS games getting multi-battles and shit. But there's certain sections of, I want to say, Viridian City, if you're on handheld mode and it just starts chugging. Here's Lysander for some reason, and he's still looking like he's fucking lion Pokemon that I can't remember the name of.
Pyroar.
Pyroar, yeah. I love Pyroar.
Yeah, Pyroar's a good design.
It is, and I'll say the male one holds up better design-wise than the Lioness does, but that's just the nature of the beast. When they've got their full manes and that, that's such a proud fucking Pokemon. Although something that I do think is pretty cool, I remember reading an article a little while ago about how evolution's working amongst lion packs and whatnot, how in certain territories now that have fewer males among the particular groups, some of the females now are starting to evolve and grow out and have more hair, more akin to the male ones. And people are thinking that that's like nature's way of like protecting them, because any like attackers think there's more males in the pack. Which, that is fucking incredible, isn't it? The fact that, like, you know, it's a form of self-defense that nature's just doing by itself.
That's amazing.
It really is. And like, the fact that that's just, it's nature taking its own accord, and like, the females are getting more hair and they're looking like they're resembling more of the male lions. And maybe that makes them slightly less attractive to the males if they look like other dudes, but hey, you know, it's nature doing its thing. But yeah, like,
I mean, but there's probably a lot more to that. I mean, there's scent and all that.
yeah, but
So,
like, it's kind of a from a distance thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you think, oh, there's 3 great lying males over there. I'm not gonna fuck with them. So you know, it's kind of. It's cool that happens the way it does. Like, I will say though, the one thing that I do find disappointing though is that there's that Photoshop going around of the black lion, which is a Photoshop. I think that's a shame because I think it looks really fucking cool.
I
That
know
sounds like
nothing
it'd be
about
cool.
it.
No,
It's a shiny lion.
that would be really cool if you saw like a whole horde of lions and it's just like one black one.
We can only poach one. Oh God, I've knocked it out by accident. Now I have to aim for the others.
Oh god!
It suddenly shrinks and vanishes from the battle.
That would be the sort of thing. There would definitely be like breeding groups of people desperately trying to breed another black one from it, wouldn't there?
Does it have a modest nature? Oh, bloody no, it's a lion.
It's like when you think of all these like rare animals on the peak of extinction, and like there's the groups that are sent out to try and like breed them to try and rescue their species and that, and then they just encounter one. Oh, it's a bit aggressive. Fuck that. Next one. And that's basically the equivalent of like trying to farm Pokemon for a good nature.
So I'm kind of disappointed that the film didn't make any reference to Pokemon breeding. It's like, I feel like that would have been a nice little quick nod.
Well, there's only so much you can do
I
in
know
one
there's
film.
only so
isn't there?
much, but it's like, maybe just like a little nod to nature's at least, I would have liked.
Maybe. See, that's
But-
the kind of thing that, as a game mechanic, it would be kind of hard to put
I
into
know.
a like, you know, a story without it feeling a bit ham-fisted in. Like, what it's making me think of is, if you remember, there was an episode early on in the anime, I think it's called School of Hard Knocks, with that trainer school, and they did make a few mentions of like Pokemon levels and things, and it just said it seemed a little bit out of place in that, like as bringing up a game mechanic in, you know, a story.
But they do make reference to move effectiveness in the film.
Yeah,
Do
that
they
works.
explicitly describe it like that, or is it just like drawing attention to the obvious, like
I think-
war repeats fire?
No, it's like, it's during the Charizard scene.
Oh, okay.
And the main character says to Pikachu about his moves and what would be the most effective. He says, like, you've got quick attack, discharge, electro ball, and all of those are decent moves, but I think in this situation you'd probably go for Volt Tackle, even though it does cause recoil on you. Yeah.
Why has Ash's Pikachu not used Volt Tackle in forever? That's so cool in the anime.
It's like, and another little addition to it was that Pikachu ignores him. He says, like, nah, I'm going to use Thunderbolt. But that's not one of his 4 moves. And he tries using it and fails.
Oh, they actually address the 4 move thing. That seems like a bit of an arbitrary thing.
Did they actually say you've got 4 moves?
No, well, he
You've got Volt Tackle?
He does point out that those are his 4 moves.
Oh, yeah.
He says.
But it doesn't say that's your limit.
He doesn't say that's his limit, but those are his moves that he knows. So he's like, you've got discharge, quick attack, electro ball, but I think you should use Volt Tackle, even though that will cause you recoil. I think it's the best you can use against this Charizard. And he's like, nah, I'm going to use Thunderbolt. And then completely fails. Although I think they more pass that off as the fact that he's forgotten to use his abilities. But I like to think that's the fact that he doesn't actually know it.
I mean, Venusaur, that's what I'm thinking of when you go through that. Tell me what to do. Oh god, Pokémon, like, the first one at least was funny. Like, the later one, nah, that was a bit weird. That was a bit Aaron trying too hard to be funny, but, you know, the first one was fun.
So I like the idea of Kyogre not being able to surf because it hasn't learnt it.
Oh yeah. Well, then you get back to the old jokes like of like a bird Pokemon that can't fly because they don't know fly and shit like that. You know, like, we're treading old ground at this point. You know, like the most riveting kind of commentary for something. Did you realise that at this point, Ash's Pikachu should be overpowered? That's a hot take I'm bringing to the table right there. Oh god. But yeah, this is the Lost Hotel, which is a little kind of side plot thing. I think this is optional, but like, you know, you're just beating up all the fucking thug kind of trainers with their poison Pokemon. So Viper looks cool here. So Viper, I will say, because like there's the whole in-universe thing of like the rivalry between Zangoose and Viper, isn't there? I think that's a reference to like Mongoose and snakes not getting along, and
it's like Mongoose are used for hunting snakes, I believe.
Yeah, but then this is portrayed as more of a two-sided thing, and it really, which is kind of cool. Like, you know, I will say between the two, I think I prefer Viper's design a bit more.
Yeah.
Like, Zangoose is cool, and Zangoose, I don't really think much of him from the actual games, but I remember, like the main series games, but I remember him being kind of a big deal in Pokemon XD, because one of the first screenshots we saw of that was the character, I think the guy's name is Zook, the guy with like the big fucking like Etika hair, and like he has a Shadow Zangoose that he uses. That was like before we even knew what XD was going to be, it was just being referred to as Pokemon Cube. I remember seeing like the magazine scans and the screenshots and whatnot going around to that. Because remember, this was the era before the handy Pokemon Directs every year or whatever. This was when originally we'd get scans from Korokoro would start leaking, and then it'd get passed onto a website, and then that website would get poached by another website, and someone would like inject their own fake stuff in there to make it look convincing. I may have known people who did that. I may have known people who did that with stuff that still gets passed around as real to this very day. Because like, it's one of the things, like, I will say this now that the guy who made it has admitted to it, but every now and then on V and on VP, you see scans going around of what's apparently from a Pokemon instruction manual of Oak saying things like, your Master Ball's like important, save it for a valuable Pokemon like a Magikarp or a Tentacle. And people think that's real. It's not. That is a fake someone I know made. And that just gets passed around a lot. Like, every now and like, it's one of them threads that just shows back up, and then the normies post it on Reddit, and then it shows up on Facebook. And there's just like little trail of things on the internet, isn't there, of the order things appear. Of like Pokemon stuff, it usually shows up on VP first, doesn't it? And then it gets posted on the other sides. But you know, normies are slow to pick up news. That's my rant about normies for the day. Got anything else to talk about?
Well, I was going to make a comment about how I prefer Survivor to
Go on.
Zangoose, but it's mostly due to the anime portrayal of it, and I like its introduction to Team Rocket.
I forget that. Wasn't that the one that Jessie picked a fight with
Yes,
directly?
it steals their food and it accidentally bites her hair off, and then she mercilessly beats the hell out of it.
That was great. That
she
really
knocks
was.
it out and then just taps a Pokeball on it and catches it.
Beat up your Pokemon and catch it.
It just bites her hair off. She screams, and then the next moment she's just beating the absolute.
Would that work? Just go around with cricket bat. Just forget the.
She doesn't even use a cricket bat or anything. She uses her fist. It's like the Survivor's completely defenseless. She just beats it into the ground, and then she's like, done.
Yeah. That's, like, Team Rocket have had some interesting Pokemon over the years, haven't they? Like I do think that was a strong lineup they had in Gen 3 with like the Survivor, Dustox and Cacnea. They work well, I think. Like even if Jessie didn't use Dustox that much.
And then Carnivine comes along in Gen 4.
Yeah.
Carnivine's great.
I really like James the Carnivine. I like the fact that they have that running joke going of like James's Pokemon eating him, which
they absolutely love him.
Yeah.
It's like, it shows he's really not that bad of a guy. His Pokemon adore him.
Basically, yeah. Like, cause it was a bit of an arse pull, the fact that he just had this Carnivine that he's somewhere else or whatever, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, fair enough. Carnivine's great.
Yeah, it was excited to bite his head for the first time in clearly years, so we're wrong with that.
It's like, it even learns Vine Whip in a situation where it wants to save his life.
I don't remember that. When was that?
It's one of the episodes where they go to the it's like an iron island or something like that. And they're like, there's Team Galactic on the island, and there's a bunch of stuff there relating to the creation trio, and it's like they're stuck in a hole, and James is really scared. He's worried about his Pokemon, and he's holding them, and Carnivine's just like, no, I'm going to save us, and suddenly sprouts Vine Whips.
That's cool. Yeah. Like, that love between Team Rocket and their Pokemon is fantastic. Yeah. And like Iron Island, I think that's the one in the games where you get the Riolu.
Yes, it is.
That's cool. Like, as you can tell by my Lucario on screen now that I'm still using, granted it is the welfare Lucario, but I really like Lucario. Yeah. Probably one of the strongest Gen 4 Pokemon for me.
It's like, we haven't even referred to the fact that your Charizard has Mega Evolved a couple of times already, but...
Well, we drew attention to it when I completely obliterated the grass chip with it, because that was a fair fight. You know, like, this is a thing that I know people can go either way on the balancing of Pokemon games, but Gen 6 in particular was the series of games where they were the easiest, really.
Yes.
Aside from Let's Go, because Let's Go is also incredibly easy. But this, if you're fighting any trainees, eventually you will be ridiculously overleveled. Like, granted, some of these are trade Pokemon.
Mostly due to the EXP share, I find.
Well, it is, because I don't think they were properly committed to that. I think they were still expecting a bunch of people to turn it off. And so they didn't really balance the game according for that. Which I feel like they did a better job of in Sun and Moon, because Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are more difficult in terms of their level curves from what I recall. So like, you wouldn't be like 10 levels above everything else at any given moment. But yeah, this is just talking about the lore of the legendary skater and all that. Like, that was why I went to get all the tricks.
I never did this.
You miss nothing really, but I thought, you know what, it's here. It looks kind of cool. Bit run down, but that's the point. I might as well show it off. I like to show off some of the optional stuff along the road, along the trip, I guess, you know. And we will get another optional route that we'll be seeing, I believe, in the next part. That's like the route from the town we're going to now back to Lumiose. No, there are a few like optional routes in this game, like optional places that you might miss. That's the main one that I think of. But there's also like Kanto had a similar kind of thing, didn't it? With like the whole like eastern region, like the eastern portion of the region, you could skip. You know, like the second Snorlax, you could skip that if you want. Who gives a shit? But yeah, I think this route south of here, once I get strength, I'll be able to just go back down the optional route there. And by once I get strength, I think I mean once I teach one of my Pokemon strength off screen. Because, you know, like, I don't really plan ahead for these things too well. God, look how pretty this town is. Now it's Sycamore and one of the little sidekick people. That's Senior and Dexio. I can't remember which one's which. I think Senior's the chick.
Dexio's the boy, yeah.
Yeah. So they show up again in Gen 7, though I I don't know, is that meant to be the same iteration of them? I think that's the same universe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same universe, they're just older, and for some reason they have Zygarde.
Yeah, I don't get that.
One of the many irritations of Gen 6.
Well, was that 6's fault or 7's fault?
Game Freak's fault.
That works.
I can't blame the generation, I just blame Game Freak mistreating Zygarde.
Well, Zygarde, like... Oh, spoiler ahead of time, but I will be showing off Zygarde after we've beat the main game here, but... You know, like, Zygarde's a weird one, because, like, he was just a random shows the fuck up out of nowhere kind of Pokemon to start with, wasn't he? And then they brought in, like, his extra form and...
Yeah, but that was the same with Giratina in Diamond and Pearl until they brought out Platinum.
Yeah, but I don't like Giratina, I like Zygarde.
And the same goes for Rayquaza in Ruby and Sapphire until Emerald comes along.
Yeah, but he didn't have another form, did he? He was just kind of, like, the cool secret final Pokemon, which, that's cool. You know, like, that's cool. It's more like when they start, like, turning that into, oh, well, he's got this other form now, and he's got this and that, you know. It's kind of a different thing compared to, like, just the Super Boss.
Giratina's still one of my favourite legendaries.
I don't like Giratina that much. I just find his design seems a bit unnecessarily over-designed, if that makes sense.
What one's Giratina?
It's the ghost dragon with 6 legs.
Yeah, the one from Gen
Devil.
4.
Yeah,
The
essentially.
devil one, oh yeah, it was a jump scare. And, yeah.
Jump scare?
Jump scare at some point
No,
when you see him.
no. Don't know what you're thinking of.
One of the legendaries.
Can't think of a
legend,
legend.
didn't
Can't think of a legendary that jump scares.
he? Sort of. Well, yeah.
Maybe you're just easy to scare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because essentially just go through these ruins. It's like after you've beaten the main game, there's a root in these trees, or one of the roots. It just suddenly appears. And you go through there and you find this mysterious like area. And I liked the way it was set up. It was like, hang on a minute, this was never here before. And then you go in and it's just this endless like rooms. And it's like, I mean, there is a sequence to going through them. I can't remember what it was for the life of me, but it's like even if you didn't figure it out, it was still easy to get to Giratina.
Yeah.
And it was like, I just found it really mysterious. I loved it when I did first encounter Giratina, because I was like, there's an undead dragon in this game with 6 legs and it looks like a demon. I love it.
See, I should clarify, I don't dislike the idea of just having legendaries that are just sort of randomly there, because that it gives you something to just find by surprise. I think how a lot of people felt when they first found Mewtwo in Gen 1. It's kind of that same kind of feeling, you know, that you just stumble upon it and it's really cool that you got this secret, super powerful Pokemon show up. It's just, I kind of feel like it feels a bit incomplete when we see them show up like that first and then they decide to do something with it.
Yeah. What I liked about Gen 3 and 4 was the fact that the majority of the legendaries it introduces serve a purpose to the Pokemon world. It's like Gen 1 and 2, I enjoy the legendaries for what they are, but they are essentially just really powerful Pokemon that there are barely any of. I mean, especially Mewtwo, considering it's meant to be the only one. And then Gen 3 comes along and it's like, here are Groudon, Kyogre and Rayquaza, and they are essentially gods of nature. Groudon created the land, Kyogre created the sea, and Rayquaza overlooks all of it and keeps them in check. And I love that. And then they throw in a few of the others, like Regirock and Registeel and Regice are sort of meant to also resemble elements of the world. And Deoxys is from outer space. It's meant to be just like, there's other stuff out there, but we have no idea. But here's this thing that just happens to be out there. And then they also throw in a couple of little things like Jirachi and the Latios and Latias, who don't really serve a purpose, but they're nice to see. And then Gen 4 brings in the creation trio. So you've got the reason for time and space, you've got antimatter, and you've got God itself. And then you've even got a Pokemon that thrives off of nightmares and another one that counterbalances it.
And Heatran's just sort of there.
Yes, yes. And then you also get introduced to Regigigas, the one that created the Regis, which is also nice. And even though you don't like the Lake Trio, they do serve a purpose to the function of the world. And it's like the purpose of like they're the reason for knowledge and emotions and trying to think of the other one. I think it's like
No, I know what the Lake Trio's purpose is. The Lake Trio's purpose is so that you can just design a character by pressing Control U in Photoshop and tweaking a scale thing, and then you can go for your lunch break earlier.
God's sake.
That's the Lake Trio's purpose. I do not like those fucking Pokemon.
I don't
They're
care
lazy.
what you
Are
think.
they
are
like
not
deers?
lazy.
Are they sort of like deer shaped or?
No, they're the ones that are like Jirachi but recoloured.
They are not like Jirachi.
They look the fucking
They
same.
do
They're like
not.
these little orb things, like these flying.
They don't
fucking.
look anything like Jirachi.
Yes, like
They
fucking.
don't.
Like, I know this is already a really long part, and we are making it unnecessarily long here,
They
but we
don't-
are resolving this
do
argument
not
right here,
look-
right now. They look like fucking Jirachi.
This is why you wear glasses and I don't.
Yeah, I'm wearing the glasses so I can fucking see
No.
them.
I think you need a new prescription.
I probably do. I probably did like 5 years ago, but fuck
But at
it.
least they actually serve a purpose to the world. As much as you dislike them, they at least serve a role in the world and deepening the lore. And their purpose for controlling the creation trio does make some sense. Because it's like, yes, while those two represent time and space, you've got the creatures that represent, like, actual knowledge and thinking and actually being a living creature. So it's like being able to control those aspects of them with these three legendaries makes a lot of sense.
But they look shit.
I don't care what you say.
Okay, pass over, I win. See you
No,
next
you
part, folks.
don't.
I win.